Hey there. Good day, my friends. How's everyone doing? This will be my, well, I haven't made any videos in a little while. It's been about a week, but as people know on this channel, I've pretty much lost interest in doing YouTube videos after the last couple months and the issues, not just with my other channel being eliminated, but just in general. I've grown to, I don't know, I'm moving towards some new prospects in life, and sometimes that means I detach from my old way of being, if you will. And I am making this video. People asked me the other day about, Soak, which is the event I went to that past weekend. And a couple folks said, they wanted me to share the experience. So I thought I would. And every year after I go to Soak, I make a video talking about it. But it was... it's interesting. I've been going for about 9 years to try to put this out for what Soak is for people who don't know. It's a 5-day festival, if you want to call it a festival. It's basically Burning Man, but a regional Burning Man. Every state has their own version of Burning Man, and they're all very different and unique and specific to their area. And ours is out in eastern Oregon in a place called Tye Valley. So it's between these two beautiful mountain cliff kind of hills, and a nice valley and a stream that runs through it. And the place is beautiful. It's been there for about 3 years. Before that, it had been out in Tidewater, Oregon, and down by Salem. And it's a matter of moving around and trying to find where we can fit in and make noise and have fun without disturbing the neighbors, but without being so far out that we can't get there, things like that. Returning from Soak is like coming back into, it's like going back to work. Coming back into the real world is like going back to work after you've been on vacation. But even more so, it's when you've been around a lot of very desirable, enjoyable people, and you break free from that, and you realize that you are still stuck in this world, this this world of competition, of frustration, of violence and anger and hostility. It's not always this way, of course. That's a negative way of seeing things, but I'm just saying the reality is that we have to deal with a lot of shit. A place like Soak, I can smile and say, hey, how you doing? And somebody else might smile back. In the grocery store, the person may just grumpy and walk off, and it can set you on a mood, and then people may figure, well, everybody else is a jerk, I'm going to be a jerk too. It's been my point in life to never be that guy. To be the guy who, no matter how much adversity and bullshit that I face, that I'm able to pull my head out of my ass and say, hey, life is short, It's a blessing to even exist. Complaining does nothing. But, so we went to Soak. I ended up taking the wrong route to get there, as usual. I always mess up by following stupid MapQuest or something. It took an extra 2 hours to get there, almost twice as long. But the drive was with one of my best friends. We've known each other since we were kids. And I've been asking, I mention it every year for like the last 5 years. Hey, I'm going to Soak, you want to go? And finally this year he's like, hey, maybe I'll do it. And he stepped outside of his comfort zone because he's a Deadhead. We go to Dead shows together and stuff like that. But spending a few days together, it was nice to be able to just recite kind of our thoughts on life and exchange ideas. It was something very new to him, a new experience. And, for those who are newbies to the burner community, there are a lot of really good people that go to Burning Man events. There are also a lot of arrogant pricks who are, figure since they volunteered there for 5 years that they know better than everyone else and that they can treat people like shit. And there's a lot of attitude, but not all the attitude is bad attitude. Sometimes the attitude is just snarky and snide, little quips. There's all kinds of strange events that they do there. Like there's a lot of sexual oriented thing. Like there was one camp where they were gonna play a porno on the big screen, and then everybody was gonna sit there and heckle the people who were performing, on the movie. It's kind of a way of just releasing that frustration by heckling and joking and teasing, but in a loving manner. The only rules that really people have are just no body shaming, no fat shaming or look shaming. You can pick on a person in a nice way. When we got there, we set up our bus. I parked my bus near the RV, or in the RV kind of parking slot area, And it was right on the main thoroughfare where people walk through. See, once Soak fills up, it becomes a small city with just trails through it. So I set up my big air mattress right on the edge. The first night we sat up on the top of the bus and just said, hey, you know, talked to people, met people, had met some new cool people, and ran into an old friend, Xander. I met him last year. And when you make a connection with people at an event like this, you know, these are people you will see every time. You know, it's not like when you go to, you know, a various concert or event where you'll see people that may have similar values, but that you don't know. And in this case, you know and I've met a lot of the people over the years. And so it's nice to find a place where basically when you go in, they say, welcome home. And that's how it feels. Now, the one thing about these events is that, you know, my friend, when we were sitting there one night, and he goes, you know, this is just so awesome. There's so many great people. He's like, this is like utopia. Why can't we make our society like this? In essence. And I said, well, because in society we're fighting off a lot of monsters, if you will. But also, in order for Soak or Burning Man to exist, then the modern world has to exist. You know, nobody's going to play hula hoops and have LED lights and get all these materials and drive out to the desert unless they have resources. And these resources require that a society exists. So Burning Man is kind of an escape from society while trying to utilize the commodities that we have and minimize what we need. It's all about self-sufficiency. It's all about gifting. I'll say the one thing that I haven't mentioned, for those who aren't aware, is that the one thing that sets Burning Man events apart from, say, just a regular festival, there are two main things to me. One, there's no artists that you're going to see. There's no specific musicians that go to play. It's DJs, and they might play a variety of music, but it's about the connection with the people, not the connection with the band, okay? And the second thing is that it's a gifting community. There's absolutely no sales of anything allowed. If they see you selling things, you'll get kicked out. I mean, it's a matter of gifting. So when you walk around, there are bars, people set up little restaurants, give away. There was bacon and wine tasting last year, and just tons of things, pancake and egg breakfasts, and every one of them is free. They're gifts. And this causes individuals to want to gift as well. You know, people see this happening and they think, wow, that's awesome. Now, if you go to an event and everything costs $20 for a soda and people are selling ridiculously priced stuff, you know, you might build up that idea that, well, if I'm going to do it, you know, be part of the festival, I might as well make my money too. It's a very microcosm of the larger picture of society. We fall into these roots of, well, this is what everybody else does, so I might as well do it. And when you see people doing kind things, you fall into that too. And it's a very special thing to be able to share and do it for the sake of wanting to, and to know that everyone else is there for the same purpose. Now, I'm not going to say that Soak is a completely neutral place where everybody is happy. There are issues. In the past, I said it's the one place where I can feel like I can leave my wallet on my trunk of my car, and it'll be there when I get back. People lose things all the time, and they end up in the lost and found, and not just, you know, big things, but diamond rings, whatever it might be, you know, expensive things that could easily be pocketed. People are honest and they give them up. That said, when I went to the thread to read some of the threads after Soak, there were apparently 3 generators stolen during the burn on the second night. So there's 2 burns, and you go up to the field, everyone gathers in a circle, and you burn the effigy. And the second night is the temple burn, and almost everyone's there. My fear is, like, that's the one time where I would close my bus. I didn't lock it, but I closed it up. And just to be safe. And it was that night when 3 separate camps had their generators stolen, as well as somebody had a nice drum stolen. The idea is that these were all in the same area, and it was probably the same person. So naturally, you find an event where everybody's honest, and there's going to be somebody who can say, I'll buy a ticket and just go, you know, just go get mine and loot, you know, from these honest people, if you will. People who wouldn't expect to be looted from, rather. Yeah. Being part of a community is important because we as individuals don't know that very much. We as individuals don't know really shit about the world other than what we've learned from either other people or our own experiences. So, and when we interact with people who are, let's just say, less desirable and how their experiences have been negative, it's easy for that to rub off on us. Getting into the world of business and cutthroat business, you know, going to a place like Soak, It just makes you want to live in that reality for forever, but also knowing that it can't exist without that anyway. There's people there for the weekend to enjoy themselves, but if you were to extend that for a year or 2 years, people are going to start getting snarky again, getting snide, they're going to get grumpy. You know, life goes on. It's difficult to live in a utopia, and it's unrealistic, which is why it's just a week a year. And but in that time, it's a phenomenal thing. It's a great thing to be able to share with people. And for the temple burn, usually what it is it's kind of a way of letting go of the past. They construct a temple out of, this year it was a dragon, which was coincidentally looked kind of like my dog to me. So I went in and I wrote a letter to my dog who passed away last month. And then when they burn the temple, you release those demons, if you will. You let go, and the ashes, you know, a phoenix rises from those ashes, you know. And I had a few days to think about where I'm at, say with my business. You know, I'm like, do I want to keep doing what I'm doing? Sometimes we need time to think about that. I sat there and think, no, I love herbs. I love, you know, I love helping people, but at the same time, I have this dream of making art, creating art. And then you get into the starving artist syndrome, and there's so many artists out there who barely make it by. But if you're doing it and it's your passion, that's one of those things you have to decide for yourself. Is it worth making less but enjoying yourself more? That, I mean, but having a little more can help you enjoy yourself more as well. It's a conundrum, and being human isn't an easy thing. But we all try our best, try to endure what we have. It sounds kind of maybe defeatist, and maybe a little bit it is. We do need to, I don't know quite how to define it, I guess. Life is short. We have many emotional ups and downs. We have many different things that we learn that we find out were incorrect. Sometimes we think it's all about getting, some people learn it's all about getting yours, you know, regardless of the cost, and then later they feel guilty because they harmed others. And for other people, it's about give, give, give. And then you find out that giving really isn't the answer either, because if you give everything away, then you have nothing to share. But you can always give from the heart, and it can always be a wisdom. It can be your experience to share with others, to show them they're not alone, because we're not alone. None of us are alone. We're all together here. And it's easy to feel defeated, you know, sometimes. Feel like nobody gives a shit, because everybody out there's just trying to make a buck. And it sucks that it's set up this way. It sucks that we have to be a conscious, evolving species that is self-aware, aware of our own mortality, but at the same time we have to still perform like an animal, if you will. Regardless of how human people say we are, like, oh, well, we should be able to move past our, you know, our primal programming. It's like, no, it doesn't happen overnight. You know, genetics, you know, sexism, racism, you know, suspicion, xenophobia, the way that we treat one another when we feel threatened, cornered, you know, fight or flight, all these things are make us who we are. And I think self-analysis is crucial to understanding how we can make it better for ourselves and others, if you will. So there's never quite enough time to ponder the possibilities, but we do our best. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Talk to you later, and take care of yourself.